What's up, everyone? My name is Alan, founder and consultant at For Now Marketing, and welcome to Braze for Technical Marketers. Today, let's talk about action-based delivery campaigns. Let's get started. All right, so here we are back on our dashboard, and under the scheduled delivery page, page number 2, we are now on action-based campaigns or action-based delivery. And then if we just scroll down to the next section, we see a new trigger action. And then there's actually going to be quite a bit of trigger drop-down options. You may not be able to see it from your end when I'm screen sharing, but if you go to the Braze documentation page, you will see a full list of the options you can choose for the trigger event. So definitely take a minute to go through all the options you have when using Braze action-based delivery. And even for some of these, there's actually a lot to go over, a lot of details to cover for some of those. So we may have a more detailed video for some of these topics in the future, particularly for attribute and campaign connector deliveries. But back to our dashboard. Some of the most popular triggers that customers and teams use will be start session. That's the first one. So anytime someone visits your website or visits your app and starts a session, that's what might trigger this campaign. Another very popular one is perform custom event. And we don't have any custom events on this dashboard to show us quite yet, but any action that a user may have started. And actually, we have get started. Perfect. So let's say a user performed the custom event get started on our website. That could be what triggers the user to enter this campaign. The other ones that I see get used often is, I'm going to go ahead and delete that one, and so I can reset it, is add an email address. This one's a special trigger as well. It's a Braze native built-in trigger. But anytime an email address is added, this will trigger this campaign. And then there's a few other ones that are worth talking about, but that may get its own video later on. So let's actually go back to perform custom event, because what I wanted to show was, so choose perform custom event, choose the custom event that you want, and then you see this option show up, add property filters. So if you want to further filter exactly what custom event gets started and what custom event properties you want to look for when triggering this campaign, you have this option. Click that, and then you'll be able to get a list of all the properties that are associated with this event. And we actually don't have any event properties, or also called metadata, for this custom event, sometimes even called event attributes by some teams. But if you did, maybe like time or source, like from the website, from what page, or whatever other attributes you're collecting that's associated with the action, you may be able to filter based on that. We'll uncheck that for now. If you scroll down, you do have the option of scheduling a delay. So as soon as the user performs the action get started, should we send it right away? If so, then that's immediately. You also have the option of delaying for a certain minutes or seconds. So after blank seconds, minutes, hours, days, all the way to weeks. You could also delay for until the next specific day. And this only gives us day of the week. So until the next Sunday, the next Thursday, the next Saturday at a certain time. Um, and then that time, once again, from the previous video, if you, by default, it's your company time zone. Or if you check off the local time zone, then I believe this should follow the local time zone guidelines. And then lastly, you also have so it's send campaign in X calendar days at a certain time. And I believe the maximum for this is 30, 31 maybe. We may be able to, or it's possible that this one does not have a maximum. It doesn't quite say, so it seems like we might be able to maximize it. A lot of times 30 seems to be the maximum delay that we see in Braze. So this one, let's see if we find the answer as we go along. Whenever you set a delay, so if you send it to immediately, you see that that little section goes away. But if you do set a delay of any kind, then you have what's called an exception event that shows up. So let's think about like an abandoned cart campaign. Let's say I put an item into my cart and I left a page, and then that triggers the abandoned campaign. But we want to give them maybe an hour to actually check out before bombarding them with an email right away. Like, whoa, where'd you go? Like, as soon as I leave, I shouldn't get an email saying, where'd you go? So let's say we scheduled an hour delay. Within that delay, let's say I did end up coming back in 30 minutes and made the purchase. We do not want to send that abandoned cart campaign if that were the case. So that's why we have the exception event as an option if there is any sort of delay between the trigger and the actual send time. And this exception event follows a lot of the same triggers that we saw earlier here. The perform custom event doesn't have all of them, but it has makes purchase, start sessions, perform custom event, which would cover most of the cases, even interact with campaign. So it has a few options for exception event. If we scroll down to the campaign duration section, we want to set a start time, and this is required for when the campaign starts to take action. So if you actually end up setting a date in the past, you can do that. That means as soon as you launch, this campaign is in effect right away. Let's say we launch for a start time that's maybe in 2 hours from now or 1 hour from that, later at 8 p.m. So that just gives us like a buffer room until 8 p.m. So this campaign, even though it's launched, isn't going to start sending messages or even entering users until the campaign officially starts at 8 p.m. So until then, even if a user performs the triggering event, get started, nothing will happen. Or maybe the data that you're using to trigger or the email information that you're sending isn't ready until maybe next week, and you got ahead and in building this campaign. So you could launch for a future date and just getting ready and getting ahead of things. The end time is optional. So a lot of times, campaigns might run forever. If it's an order confirmation transactional email, there really shouldn't be an end time. There should never be a time where you stop letting a user know about their order confirmation. But if it's, let's say, event specific campaign where we're sending this reminder or notice know before you go until the event happens, then you could totally set an end time where once this end time is passed, we are no longer sending this campaign. So it's kind of a way to set an end time or like a deadline or a timer on this campaign without having to come back on that time and then manually turning it off and hopefully hoping that you timed everything correctly. This setting is also very helpful if you're migrating from one campaign to another. So let's say I had welcome new user onboarding, but then a year later I created welcome new user onboarding email 2 or updated. Um, what you could do is set an end time for the old campaign at, let's say, February 6th at 10 p.m. Or actually, let's make it 10 a.m. That's more reasonable. And then you have the start time of the new campaign at the exact same time. So February 6th at 10 a.m. That actually wouldn't. Um, just imagine that this is the start time for the new campaign that you're about to launch. If you are ending old campaign precisely at 10 a.m. and you're starting new campaign precisely at 10 a.m., then there should be a theoretically seamless transfer from the old to the new campaigns. And that is how we sunset and launch old and new campaigns all the time in Braze. That is by far the best way to do it. We're not worried about a microsecond or second delay where we are losing a customer. And sure, it may happen maybe once in a very rare occasion, but that is the best way to transfer and migrate campaigns. We briefly talked about local time zone in the past. So we have the option of sending at company time or users local time. And you can actually see the time zone specified if this box isn't checked off. Our dashboard is set to Pacific time. So that is the campaign duration section. And then lastly, we have quiet hours. So quiet hours is literally a quiet hour, a time where we should not be sending a message to a customer, quite possibly because we might wake them up if it's a push notification or an SMS, and that makes the customer's mobile device make a sound in the middle of the night. That might be a very bad experience with your brand. So then, if we enable quiet hours, that we have some options to not send between midnight and 8 a.m. That's the default Braze setting. And we have two options. We can either just abort the message, not send the message at all if it does end up triggering between those hours, or you send at the next available time. So as soon as this quiet hour is over at 8 a.m., it's going to have a bunch of messages queued up that were triggered during the quiet hours, and it would just send it all at once. Or Braze will do its job to kind of send it in a successful, proper way when the quiet hour is over at 8 a.m. And you can even actually see if message is triggered to send between the hours of 12 and 8 a.m., send at 8 a.m. And if I change that to 9 a.m., that should change along with it as well. So let's say I change it to 9 a.m., then 9 a.m. Yep. And then lastly, delivery controls and frequency capping. We did cover this in the scheduled delivery type video. So please be sure to check that section out if you aren't sure about what this means. And that's it for today. That's it for today. Thank you for watching and see you next time.